welcome back, friends. It's Megan from A Seasonal Abode. I thought tonight would be a perfect time to take you for a quick tour of my kitchen garden. So it's the end of July here, and we are supposed to be getting rain the next few days. So I thought tonight is a good time to show you the garden, especially the end of July is actually kind of really the peak of the garden. And then from there, it slowly starts to peter out as we get towards fall. So starting in this new no-dig area that we planted together, as you can see, the potato vine has gone crazy this summer. Every week when I'm in this garden area, I am cutting back the potato vine quite aggressively, but it just loves its life here. So here are the little lime punch hydrangeas that we planted together. I did want to show you the difference. So these two here, I planted this spring. They came from the nursery. And as you can see, they're already turning into, they're already getting that pink, beautiful pink hue that they get in the fall. And this one over here, I actually planted last fall. So you can see the difference. This is what is realistic. This is what it would look like this time of the year. These ones are a little bit ahead of schedule because they came from the nursery. So over here we have the Millennium Allium. I think this is such a fun plant. It's a perennial, so it's different from the spring allium that you would see in gardens. It is, like I said, it's a perennial and it flowers in the summer months. Beside it here we have the Lemon Jade Sedum, the Emerald Cedars. This is the Helen von Stein Lamb's-Ear Stockies. When I planted this, it was about 1/8 of the size it is now. It has grown.
So my microphone died while I was recording, so I'm actually going to continue by just doing a voiceover for the rest of the video, so I apologize for that. But I was mentioning that this lamb's ear really put on a lot of growth this summer. And then we have the Cat's Pajamas Nepeta and the Generous Gardener Rose from David Austin in its first year, and the Hyacinth Bean Climbing Vine, which is an annual vine that puts out these beautiful, delicate pink flowers. And then on the other side here, we have a mirror of what we had on the side I just showed you, with the exception of this rose here. This is a climbing rose. It is the New Dawn Climbing Rose, and it is in its second year of growth. So we're going to head into the garden now. So I did ask on the community pages here on YouTube if anyone would be interested in me doing a walkthrough bed by bed of what I have growing in the kitchen garden. And a number of you did mention that you would be interested in that. So that's what I'm going to do now in this video here. So this spring we did put in 6 more 4x8 raised beds. So we have a total of 12 4x8 foot raised cedar beds here. So this first bed here is split in half, and the one half I have some of the Admire beans, green beans, and then on the other half I have just Yukon Gold, I think, potatoes. So in the winter months I had bought a surplus of potatoes. They were on sale and we didn't get through them all. Come spring they started growing eyes, and instead of buying seed potatoes, I actually just threw them in the shade and I planted them in the ground, and it looks like they're doing great so far. So the second bed beside it here, I have another full bed of the Admire green beans. I have planted 3 successions now of the green beans, and we are busy pressure canning those. So that's keeping us nice and busy. Now this next bed here is a cut flower bed. So the one half I have Benry Giant Mix zinnias. I also have a little bit of the Oklahoma. And on the other half I have some of the Pro Cut series sunflowers. So we have Pro Cut Plum and Pro Cut Sunrich planted here. So these are just starting to come, and I'm just about to use them for my flower arrangements. So in this next bed here, I have a full bed of those same potatoes that I was mentioning. I did check this particular afternoon to see if they were starting to form. Potatoes, generally speaking, what I look for is either the tops of the plants starting to turn brown or flowers appearing, and then I know I can start checking for potatoes. This bed here is a bit of an embarrassment. This was my cool hardy bed, and the reason it is I am letting these flowers die back a little bit is because I am trying to learn how to harvest a lot more of my own seeds, so that I'm not having to depend on having to purchase new seeds every year again. So this here is the Feverfew Rio, and I've been very pleased with it. I think I'm actually just going to top cut the flowers off and use it for foliage still. Then we have the Sahara Rudbeckia that is just about to come, which will be perfect for going into the fall for arrangements. And then lastly, I have some bachelor buttons. I do not need to keep these all to collect the seeds. You really only need a few heads to collect the seeds, but here I am showing you some of the seeds that you can collect very easily. Just let them dry in the plant, and then you can really just pull what was the petals dried, and then you'll find the seeds right there. So this next bed here is mostly full of snapdragons. I have the Madame Butterfly. This is the bronze variety here on the one side, and then I have some Chantilly light pink on the other side. There is one Potomac there, and this is the chocolate lace flower, or Dara. Have a little bit of summer berries, yarrow in here, and about 6 or 7 plants of the hit coat lavender. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. I actually started these by seed back in January, and I did a little bit of experimentation, and I found that the seeds that I put in the fridge for 2 weeks, cold stratification, and that I seeded germinated the best. So if you're planning on starting lavender, try that method. So moving on over to my next bed, I have some pepper plants in here. I have both sweet bell pepper plants and some hot pepper plants, and they are loaded with peppers, so we are gonna use those for salsa later on. And then I have my tomatoes here. I'm known for planting them way too close together. Haven't had a problem or issue yet, so I just keep doing this method. But yeah, we have some San Marzano planted here, as well as a beefsteak variety, I think. And it looks like we are going to begin harvesting at the end of this week already, so that's pretty exciting. The next bed here I have is chock full of cut flowers. I planted them way too close together. So the first part here, we have some straw flower, the apricot, and the burgundy one. I don't quite remember what the name of the variety is, but I'll put that up on the screen. And then we have some gomphrena. So we have a white variety and a pink variety and an orange variety, which is more like a rusty kind of color, which I really, really love. Then we have some calendula in there, hiding in there. It's not the regular calendula. I believe it's the apricot variety. So I went with a lot of apricot, salmon-y, blushy colors this summer to use for my cut flower bouquets. Then we have the ageratum, or the floss flower. This is like that, kind of like a periwinkle purple, if that's even a color. They are just exploding. I need to remind myself that I don't need to plant as much of this plant because it really, really loves and flourishes well. So this is the celosia, the salmon. Actually, I think it's terracotta celosia. It's the plume celosia. It's great accent for cut flower bouquets as well. So moving on to the next bed, this is full of the Lancelot leek. Hilling them up now, getting them thicker. I did have Patterson onions interplanted with the leek. I have since harvested them. And about a week ago, I planted some turnips, actually seeded them in for the fall. And so those are in the corner there of the bed. And then I have 2 cattle panel tunnels in my kitchen garden, which I have been growing some more of the hyacinth bean climbing vine. Now, my neighbor was over the other day, and he did want to assure me, he's like, you do know those are poisonous, right? So if you are planning on growing these in your garden, they do grow beans, and they are poisonous. So yeah, I'm strictly growing these for the beauty, the ornamental aspect that they add, the whimsical aspect to the garden here. So this next bed here, we have some dahlias. Now this one here is called Pink Pearl. This is my first dahlia to bloom this year. The other ones are quite a bit behind, disappointingly, but I just recently amended the soil last week to see if that would help. It is a new bed, and sometimes it does take a bit to add and remedy the soil conditions. So I like to use rabbit manure actually to incorporate into the soil to help with that. So then we have some Swiss chard and spinach and some of the raven zucchini. I think I have 3 plants here. And then we have in this bed here some squash. So we have some butternut and some acorn. And in the tunnel here, I have just last week seeded some more of the red leaf lettuce and green leaf lettuce. This tunnel, once again, has some more of the hyacinth bean. You can see the flowers there on top. They're so beautiful. And then the bed beside it here has some interplanted together. We have English cucumbers, pickling cucumbers, and some more butternut squash. And on the end here, I have some kale that's kind of getting a little bit smothered, but it's kind of acting as a little bit of a sun protection for it. It is still growing well. I have had some issues with bugs. I've been using a lot of diatomaceous earth on my kale this summer. And in this bed here, we have some pumpkins. So I don't know what it is, but every year I need to grow a few pumpkins. When the rest of the garden dies back, there is nothing as exciting as having a big orange pumpkin pop out on a misty, foggy, frosty morning in the fall time. It always makes me think of the James Whitcomb Riley poem, "The Frost is on the Pumpkin and the Fodder's in the Shock." You should look it up if you've never read that one. It's a fun poem. Here you can see the sun setting behind the poplars. And then moving on to the last bed in our kitchen garden here, it's full of dahlias. So there's Ferncliff, Cornell Bronze, and some Carolina Moon. I had a lot of tubers of Carolina Moon that I overwintered. And similar to the other bed, I don't find that these dahlias are as large as they should be, but maybe I'm just expecting too much. I think maybe next spring I will be pre-sprouting and potting up some tubers. And I thought just at the end here, I would take you to these beds that are beside my kitchen garden because I do use them alongside of the beds inside. So there's some more cut flowers, some cosmos, some straw flowers, some zinnias. Then there's a green bean bed over there, and this next bed here has some more zinnias and some dahlias. I have the Carolina Moon blooming in there. The cattle panel once again with some more hyacinth bean, some regular calendula here for harvesting for teas and for skincare. Then we have some celery that has gone to seed. I did want to collect some seeds. This half of the bed here is an herb garden. So this is what my herb garden looks like at the end of July. I have harvested a lot. I've dehydrated and hung much of the herbs. I am still picking for evening suppers. But for the rest, most of this has been harvested. And yeah, it's not very pretty this time of year. Then behind there, my daughters have a garden of their own, which is fun for them. And then I have some more pickling cucumbers, some basil, and some snapdragons. In this last bed here, I have a heritage ever-blooming raspberry, which does look like it is getting eaten by the Japanese beetles. If you have any ideas, I don't think I have the time to get out there with the hot soapy water and, collect them all. I'm just hoping that I can still get enough raspberries. So anyways, thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you've enjoyed this video and that you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next one.